Let's see. All right.
So last week.
Actually, who here loves or hates AI? Who here loves AI? Who hates AI? Indifferent?
If you're too scared to say it because you think AI is watching right now, just blink twice.
Fair. All right. So I would like to introduce our next speaker, Umer. Umer is a senior software engineer with 8 years of experience working on enterprise level solutions for companies which require AI integration in their legacy systems. Please welcome Umer to the stage.
Hey everyone, how's it going? So Halloween, everybody's here. So everybody don't have a life like me. So a little bit about me. I'm a software developer, about 8 years of experience. I've been in the community working as a volunteer with Van.js and other events as well. And before I get started, just happy Halloween to everyone. So hope everyone gets lots of treats. So today's topic is going to be who's responsible when AI fails. So everybody wants to adapt AI now in the software industry in general. But we want to think about some of the pitfalls or some of the accountability part. So I'm going to talk about where we are right now in the progress. So in the current market right now, where we're standing right now in terms of AI progress. When can AI fail? So I'm going to talk about some of the scenarios or use cases where AI has failed or can fail. Then I'm going to talk about what responsibility means. So I'm going to talk about before using AI, what developers used to be responsible, like in the company structure, who was responsible for what. And now with AI adaptation, what is the role of responsibility? And then in the end, I'm going to talk about how we as humans can work alongside AI to create a responsible ecosystem to work together, hopefully. So where we are right now, I just have a small video to show you. This one is pretty, yeah, it's funny, but I just wanted to add that to the slide deck. What percentage of technologists using AI daily? So by the show of hands, can anybody tell me what number, like what percentage would that be? How many technologists in general in the industry would be using AI right now? 35%, 25%. Wow, 80%, 95. So the number is actually 76%. So pretty close. 30% was way off. But yeah, 76% of technologists are currently using AI. And what percentage of organizations have adapted AI? So any guesses? 29%? 60%? 78%? Any other guesses? In general, so in any way, AI adaptation by companies or organizations in general. 89%. So in any capacity, whether it's adapting to like Copilot, Microsoft Copilot, or they're just using AWS as their standard for adapting AI, but in any capacity, 89% of organizations have started adapting AI into their ecosystem in the company. So that gives us the fact that we have a lot of people in the industry right now adapting AI. So if you're, if you haven't started using AI, so it's a good time to actually catch up. And why these companies are using it is this chart actually shows you why. So this report is by Dora, not Dora the Explorer, but Dora is a program that is run by Google Cloud. They run reports every year on AI adaptation and stats. So according to Dora's report, if the company adapts AI only 25%, they see an increase of 2.6% in their flow, job satisfaction increases, productivity increases, burnout decreases by 0.6% at least, and then time doing valuable work also decreases. So there's a lot of benefit companies are seeing in adapting AI. So that's why companies are moving ahead and going with AI solutions now. So it's not a matter of can AI do this? It's more of a matter of should we do this solution with AI? So that's why today I'm talking about responsibility and how can we be more responsible when using AI tools. So we know that companies are using AI tools. We as developer, how can we be more responsible when using AI tools? So I want to talk about AI failures as well, because before talking about responsibility, I want to show you where the responsibility failed and what were the consequences of that failure. So for developers, I've personally run into rabbit holes with AI constantly giving me over complex solutions and going into reiterative solutions where it just keeps on reiterating and just consumes my tokens and just writes the code without review. Then there's like I said, over complex solutions to a very simple solution that can be done by a human. That can also be something that can happen with over reliance on AI. Then there's security and compliance failures, which means that AI can produce code that includes some of the sensitive information and SQL queries that have access to the database. So you have to be very careful when you write your code. Then there's data leakage. We know that most of the AI models are black boxes. So when you send your code to an AI model, that could actually potentially end up in somebody else's computer. So just know that. And then inconsistent results. I've been in so many situations where I've put in, okay, I want this blue button to just copy and give me the same blue button, but it turns out to be a green button. So the inconsistent results are also something that we need to be, as developers, be careful of. And in real life, there have been many instances where AI has failed, from Amazon's hiring system, which had a bias against women, to AI chatbots giving us wrong news, to just arrests actually being made because AI failed to recognize the right person through facial recognition. So these are real world consequences on having systems that we pushed into the real world without having accountability. And most recently, there was a report published by the Auditor General of Canada about the CRA and how their chatbot called Charlie only gave the right results 30% of the time. So this is a big organization and people are depending on it, on their tax information and all that, and 30% of the time is a really low number. So telling you all this is about making you realize how important it is for us to be responsible when using these AI tools. So what is responsibility? Well, without using the AI, before the time when developers used AI, what really happened was every developer used to own their outcomes. So whatever code any developer wrote, we used to own the outcome of that code. So if somebody made a mistake and it ended up into production, we knew that this person made the mistakes and they could actually solve it. But with AI systems now generating the code, it's harder to blame, or not, I should say blame, but to make people accountable for the code that they are pushing out. And then understanding the why, because I see a lot of junior developers, they're pushing out code that they don't understand. So before, it was every code that you're pushing out, you had to think about it, had to think about the logic of that code, and then you had to push it to production. But now you're just asking AI to do something for you and you don't really understand it, and then that code makes it into production, and then there's an error and you don't know how to fix it because you don't know why that code was written in the first place. Then there's testing and validation. So QA was mostly manual. We could hold QA responsible on things that they were testing, write test cases that actually made sense and which were close to business case. But now, again, there's tests being written by AI, which might not be close to what the business use case is. And then shared collaborative development. Like, I used to have a lot of peer development sessions where I would share my screen with another developer and they would just write code with me. I don't see that happen anymore. So it's hard to keep people accountable anymore. So, and then the last one is really important, the ethical judgment. So when you're pushing out a code in production, you need to be mindful of the ethical considerations. The biasness should not be there. So humans should be in the loop, right? But that was easy before because every person was writing the code. He was being responsible for that code. I feel that it's not the same anymore. The developer was really happy before and they were like enjoying their life. Now it's not the case anymore. With the use of AI, the owning of the outcomes, that becomes a combination of not only owning the code, but also understanding the reasoning behind that code that was generated. So I'm not against generating the code through AI. What I'm saying is when you generate that code through AI, you need to understand that code at least, so that if somebody asks you tomorrow, okay, you have a bug, you know how to fix it because you wrote that code, or even if you didn't write that code, you at least understand it. So second point is why. So you need to understand why the code was written, but also need to understand how the reasoning model behind that code was generated. So if we are using AI to generate the code, you need to understand what was the reasoning behind the generation of the code. Why did the LLM model generate this code? What was the reasoning? What was the context behind that code? And then the testing and validation. It's not just writing test cases, because I know developers, what they're doing right now is, okay, here's some code, write some tests for it. That is not the right way to go about writing tests. Testing should match business case as well. Testing should be based on business case. So it should test the business logic as well. So you need to test the code logic, plus you need to validate the reasoning behind the generation of the tests. And then I know shared collaboration is becoming harder. I myself am guilty of this. I'm using more and more co-pilot reviews to review my code for me. I mean, most developers are introverts, so they prefer just to have some machine review the code for them. Not saying it's a bad thing, just be mindful of those reviews being biased on some culture or values that your company does not support. And then ethical judgment. So detecting the bias is a developer's responsibility as well. So when you're generating the code, you're not just generating that code that's going to end up in the production and you're just going to be, you're not going to be caring about that code. You still have to be responsible of the code that you're putting into production. So you need to set the trust boundaries for the AI to generate the code, so that the code that gets generated is not biased against, let's say, a minority. So it can make your life as a developer easier. It definitely has, but we need to be mindful of the code that gets pushed to production, right? Now, lastly, I want to talk about how we can actually work with alongside AI in a responsible fashion so we don't end up in a doomsday scenario. So what's the path forward? Well, the first thing is AI literacy for developers. So we need to understand that the developers need to understand the risk of generating the code that they're generating through AI. So they need to know that the code that they're generating needs to be fair, it needs to be transparent, it needs to be, you need to be accountable for that code. By the way, who here knows about the six principles of AI in general? Like there are 6 principles that are actually key to writing any AI system, and they are actually pretty synonymous among all the big tech companies. There's 6 principles. What are those principles? Anyone? That's not principles. Anyone? No? So 6 principles. The system that you're creating through AI or an AI system needs to be fair, it needs to be reliable, needs to be secure, it needs to be inclusive, transparent, and then it needs to be accountable. So all of these things are on the Microsoft's website, they're on AWS website, you can see them everywhere. So they're creating this system, basically making a standard for all the AI systems that are being created right now. So hopefully they're following that, but I'm just telling you as a developer, we have an ethical responsibility to do so. And then the other thing is keeping the human in the loop. So reviewing all the code that gets generated, that should be a human. So you shouldn't push code to production that there's no human. Like there are tools out there that will create the whole product for you without you reviewing anything at all. I am totally against that. I think we should have a human review the code in sequential steps. So login page created, a human does the review, gets through. Next product page gets created, a human reviews it, then so on. And then audit trails. We need to make sure that as developers, as companies, which we are creating systems, we need to audit ourselves. Not only the code that gets generated, but also the prompts that we are writing. So the prompts need to be audited. They need to be logged, and after every quarter, we need to review them because we need to make sure that the code that was generated plus the prompts that were written were not biased and don't go against companies' policies and values. And this last one is about ethical review boards. So I think every company should start creating ethical review boards where they would at least set some guardrails. And these ethical review boards should not be just developers. They should be engineers, they should be board directors, there should be UI UX people. Everybody should come together and set some guardrails in terms of what is right and what is wrong for our product. So it should go in line with the company's values and company's culture. Lastly, I would just end by saying with great power comes great responsibility. So AI gives us this huge potential to create amazing systems, but it's our responsibility to make sure that we use it correctly and the code that we push out is actually safe and unbiased. Thank you so much. This is my LinkedIn. Please link up with me.